Hello and welcome. My name is GuruPathik's, and today I'm going to be talking about the attack key, or the attack command in Dota 2. The attack command is something that's overlooked, I think, by newer players and not well understood in a lot of ways, but is actually a really important skill to controlling your hero at a high level. And so what you need to first do is you need to understand the attack command, and then you got to practice a little bit to make sure that you truly do get it. So first thing you got to know about the attack command is where it's bound. And if you look at your bindings, essentially, it's always bound to the A key unless you've decided to change it. And I think some newer players actually unbind the attack move key because they see no use for it. And I think that's a mistake, and I'm going to talk about why in this video. But it's usually bound to A, and that's like the standard key bind, and I wouldn't change it if I were you. Most people play with that A bind. I'm an old Dota 1 player, and so we couldn't change keybinds in Dota 1. So I kind of learned how to use it on the A key, so I've always liked it on the A key. But you're free to bind it to something else if you don't want to. So how does the attack command work? So what happens when you press the A key, or whatever key is bound to your attack command? Your cursor turns red like this. And what that means is you can now left click anything and you will attack them. Sounds pretty basic. Makes sense for an attack command. Now, what's cool about this key is that if you press the A key and then you right click, it actually cancels the command. So only left clicking after pressing the attack command will actually work towards making your hero attack. So that's something to keep in mind. What also is important to know about the attack key is that you don't actually have to click on heroes or even on units to use the attack command. So if I were to click on the ground, so click the A key and then left click, I will attack the nearest unit to my hero. Now this becomes important because there aren't always single units around. So for instance, in this example, this Spirit Breaker is closer to my hero than is this ogre, and so if I were to use the attack command and click next to this ogre trying to click him, you'll see that my hero attacks the Spirit Breaker, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you're using the attack command while clicking the ground. It can be a little bit easier, for instance, if I wanted to attack this ogre, just to click the ground rather than have to click on him. But it definitely has its issues, and that's something you need to know about the attack command. What's also nice about the attack command is it's your primary way of denying creeps. You deny creeps mostly in lane by pressing this attack command and then left clicking one of your own creeps to deny when they come under 50% HP. So that's like another use of it. You can choose to activate right click deny if you want to, but I've always done the attack command deny. That's just personal preference. I don't think there's a better way to do that, to be honest. So what else do I want to talk about the attack command? So what's also nice about the attack command is that you can cue your unit to go do something on the minimap. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say I wanted to, if this Lycan, for example, I was playing Lycan, and I summoned wolves, and I wanted to use these wolves to go attack this camp, I can actually press the attack key and left click here, and what will happen is these units will actually run to the camp and then start attacking. Now, what's interesting about this is that my anti-mage is dying. But what's interesting about this is that if they encounter a unit along the way, they'll start attacking that unit first. So for example, if I have these wolves here, I need to push this wave out. If I have these wolves here and I wanted them to go attack, say, this camp right here, and I attack clicked here, what'll happen is that these wolves will actually start attacking this wave. Because they came across a unit that they could attack. And then once they are done, they will move along that path. And then here they encounter an ogre, so they start attacking an ogre. And they'll keep attacking this ogre until it dies, and then they'll move on to attack this camp. So that's something to keep in mind with the attack key. What you'll see a lot of times in heroes with like micro units, for example, like an invoker with Forge Spirits, you'll see them do this every once in a while, where they're sitting in the lane like this, they summon their Forge Spirits, they select their Forge Spirits, and they do this. They attack click the minimap like that. And the point of that is, like if I were this Lycan, for example, is that your creeps, your units will essentially walk down the lane and attack everything that they come across in the lane. And it's like a really good way of pushing with units. So these guys, I just attack click here, and they're just going to push down this wave. Oops. And you can see they just run with the wave and attack. So that can be a good way of microing units to some extent. But what I'm working towards essentially with this video is attack moving. And what you'll see in a lot of videos, especially like Purge doing a video review of somebody will say like you need to attack move because that's a more efficient way of using your hero. And the attack command is really important to understanding attack moving. So what is attack moving? The basic idea of attack moving is that your attack has a cooldown. And as you can see this Viper attacking, he has a specific attack speed and it's about once a second. I would say. Yeah, once every 1.04 seconds. And the basic idea, in the words of Professor Fierce, of attack moving is that your attack has a cooldown. So instead of doing nothing, why not get into a better position? And so what attack moving is I will be attacking once a second, but during the downtime between attacks, I will be moving my hero into a better position. Now, I'm just showing the example making a circle around this ogre, but I'm going to show you an example of why it's actually relevant. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a race for this ogre. So I'm going to put down some wards so we can see the race track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this ogre. I'm going to refresh him. I'm going to start this ogre right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my Viper sort of sitting directly on this river facing towards him. And I'm going to turn on poison attack because the attack moving is more visually apparent when you have the attack move key on. But this ogre is basically just going to run from this tree all the way to this tree, and Viper's going to start attacking him. And the first time what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the no attack moving version. And the goal is to show you how many attacks Viper can get off. So ogre, go. So I'm not actually going to control him. I'm just going to let him do what he does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Viper gets 8 attacks off on ogre during his race simply by not using the attack move key. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start Viper in the same spot, and this time ogre, get back to your starting location. This time what's going to happen is after Viper makes his first attack, I am going to manually control the Viper. And the point of this is to show you how many more attacks you can get off, essentially, with using attack moving. So there's ogre. So ogre's going to start his race. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So in that time I was able to get 3 extra auto attacks off because I was moving my hero along the direction that ogre was moving. Now you can see my micro wasn't perfect. I think right on the 3rd attack I misclicked and didn't actually click the ogre. And you know, even inefficiently moving my hero, I was able to get more attacks off. So that's the main reason for attack moving. When you think about heroes, like most heroes, ogre's an exception because he's really tanky, but most heroes take 10 attacks to kill. And so if you're able to do 1 extra attack by attack moving, that's 10% of a hero's health. That is a big difference. It can be the difference between a hero living or dying a lot of the time. So it's definitely something that's worth practicing. Now, what you're going to see a lot of the time is that, you know, how do I learn attack moving? And the reality of learning attack moving is that it's just something that's like a hero by hero basis, right? Like this Viper, for instance, has an attack speed of about 1 per second, and so it's a feel thing, right? You feel the rhythm sort of how quickly he attacks, and this changes as the game changes. So for example, if I pick up a Moon Shard, right, and my attack speed is now 0.6 seconds, I have to do this much quicker to deal with his attack movements. And so how do I train my mind to essentially attack move efficiently throughout a game? Well, the answer is you practice. So most of the time what you'll see is when heroes are in lane, especially higher level players, instead of actually just sitting in lane and auto-attacking, you'll see them practicing their attack move cancellations. And a lot of the times it's more inefficient, so you'll see them move sort of like this. And the reason is they're trying to sort of train their brain like, oh, that's how far I can move. And then every once in a while they'll stop moving and they'll be like, how inefficient am I being? So that's a lot of why you'll see that in lane. Now other heroes like junglers, for instance, sort of like this anti-mage, you'll see them do it in jungles as well. And there's two purposes of it in the jungle. The first purpose is to take less damage. The second purpose is to practice for when you need it when you're fighting a hero. So it's actually a little bit slower. So for example, if I have this full health anti-mage, I'm going to level him up once. So level up 1. So dash level bots 1. I just don't want him leveling up as I kill the camps. So this is like a pretty typical skill build you might see on a level 12 anti-mage. 1 point in mana break, 1 point in spell shield, maxed out blink, 2 points in mana void, and then the rest are in stats, so 4 points of levels and stats. And so what I'm going to do is this first time on this Hellbear camp, I'm just going to kill the Hellbear without attack moving, and we're going to see what my HP dwindles to. He stopped attacking. But about 810 HP, and that's just leaving him to attack. Now we're going to go to the next Hellbear camp, which is right here. And this time I'm going to be attack moving this camp. So I'm going to refresh, and I'm just going to attack move. Same attack pattern. And you can see my HP is now 858. So it's one way of being more efficient about taking less damage in the creep camps. That's the main goal. This is something that like doesn't always work. It doesn't work very well versus ranged units. So when you're jungling melee units, you definitely want to be making sure that you're doing this kind of movement to avoid taking as much damage. What you're doing is you're basically making the creep move a little bit, and it slows their attack down, but because you're efficiently moving your hero, you can take less damage. The way you can take the least amount of damage, though, is... here's the other Hellbear camp. The way you can take the least amount of damage is by pulling the camp actually to its like longest leash, so here, and then attack moving your way back through the camp. And you can see that was about 860 HP. I didn't do it perfect, but that's the most efficient way of taking the least amount of damage in camps. The disadvantage of doing it that way is that it takes a little bit longer. There's one last thing I want to talk about with attack moving and the attack command, and it's actually a really important tool for chasing people in the fog of war. So what I'm going to do with this Spirit Breaker is I'm going to run him into these trees, and so he's going to run out of vision of me, and he's just going to kind of run around here. I'm just queuing up a bunch of shift Q movements. So what a lot of people do when they're looking for this Spirit Breaker is they run in and they're right clicking, and you can see that by the kind of green arrows under my thing, and they see this Spirit Breaker and they do one of those. Well, if you're actually attack moving your way in, your hero will automatically attack when it encounters the Spirit Breaker. So you can see I'm attack moving my way through. And what happens is when I find the Spirit Breaker, instantly get an auto attack off. And so this can cause you to actually get 1 to 2 extra auto attacks when you're chasing someone in the fog of war using the attack command as a movement. Now, what you have to be careful of is sometimes these tree juking spots. So for instance, if I were to make this Spirit Breaker run around in the trees here quite a bit, you have to be careful if there's creep waves around, because like I said earlier, if you're nearest to another creep, you can't use the attack command because you'll start attacking the creep wave. So you have to kind of be careful about when and where you're clicking here. So for here, it's okay to use the attack command. You can see I instantly attack the second I see him. Whereas when I'm over here, closer to this creep wave, it's not as possible. But here I can use it because Spirit Breaker is the closest. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot about the attack command.